Tonight, we have a full agenda on sustainability. So we're going to start off with our Sustainability 2024 report.
Is this on? Yes. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, City Council members. Mel England, Sustainability Program Manager. And Mayor, you're correct. It's an hour of sustainability. We're going to start with going over the 2024 Sustainability Program report and discuss any questions or anything that you all may have. Then we're going to go into the greenhouse gas targets discussion. That'll be the meatiest part. And then we're going to end with discussions on a potential sustainability commission. So to start things off with,
Evan.
is that me? Okay. So to start things off with the 2024 report, hopefully you all received it and read it over in the packet. So I'm just going to highlight a few, just for time's sake, even though all of them I thought were amazing. So some projects we completed this year. One was an air quality monitor loan program, which the city partnered with Arapahoe Library in Sheridan. And essentially, we utilized funds from the Colorado Local Entity Air Network, or CLEAN for the acronym. We utilized those funds and also utilized funds through the library to create this program. So essentially, we have a handful of these air quality monitors that residents can check out for free. They can check either indoor or outdoor air quality. And then if they find any kind of like bad air quality, we have an actionable next steps for them so they can really feel empowered to make their surrounding space better. And this has been a really popular program. We launched it and the library told us that all of them were checked out, more were in rotation. So it's been a really, really popular program. And another accomplishment was that we completed both the municipal and the community-wide greenhouse gas inventory. We're going to dive deep into that in the next presentation, but that one is done. Those are both on the city website if anyone wants to geek out over some numbers like I always do. And then another one I wanted to highlight, this one fully RE snow, but another successful year of the tree program of Roots in Sheridan. I was able to volunteer for this year and it was just a really, really amazing program. You can tell that residents really value this offering. So hats off to Ari on that one. And then the last project I want to highlight is that this year in June 2024, we launched our Sustainable Business Partnership Program in collaborations with the cities of Littleton and Englewood. And essentially, this is a completely free program for businesses in the Tri-Cities to get one-on-one technical assistance to increase environmental sustainability, and as well as like reducing waste, saving money on energy, all the good things wrapped up into one program. So those are the ones I wanted to highlight for this year. There's obviously more in that report, but I wanted to field any questions or comments people have before going into the next thing.
So what happens with the readings that people get from the air quality monitors?
Great question. So they have the option to make that data public, or they can keep it private if they want their data to stay private. If they make it public, then we get a more clear map for the city of Sheridan of like maybe where there's more bad air quality that we need to assess. If they want to keep it private, totally fine. They can get a better understanding for themselves of like, hey, this maybe it's like a cross street that has really high air pollution, likely because of traffic, right? If it's like rush hour or a busy street. So then they can kind of have that knowledge going forward of like, oh, like cars kind of make it for a bad air pollution. Maybe I should go a different route if I can. So it's more of this educational piece for it.
Okay.
Great.
Other questions?
Well, if you think of any, I'm always here. So we can dive into next the greenhouse gas targets presentation. This one has a slide deck. Great. So as stated earlier, in 2024, we completed our municipal and community-wide greenhouse gas inventory, which is part of our sustainability plan to do. The next part of that project that we have listed is to set targets once those inventories are done. So that is why we are here tonight to discuss it. And then starting with, sorry, next slide, please. So the agenda for tonight, just to give a high level view, we're going to go over how the data was collected at a very high level for the inventories. We're going to look at the municipal and community-wide greenhouse gas inventory. And then before we go into looking at examples of greenhouse gas targets from other organizations, I just want to set the stage with the cost of inaction, why we're doing greenhouse gas greenhouse gas targets to begin with. And then we'll go into examples from others of what they have, examples from other communities in the Front Range in the state of what their targets are. Then we'll go over the proposed targets for the city of Sheridan, go over some fun future modelings that we have, and then open it up for questions for Q&A. So next slide. So I know this is a lot. Hopefully you all have the paper version to dive into. I'm not going to go over all of this, but at a high level, how the data is collected is we get a lot of the data directly from the source of the producers of the data. So an example is all of our energy and electricity and natural gas use. We get that data from Xcel Energy. It's actually public data that you can get online. We got our waste tonnage directly from Republic Services and so on. And then in order to make the greenhouse gas inventory, we use a tool called ClearPath. And ClearPath is an industry standard tool for doing greenhouse gas inventory. I would put really good money if you ask anyone in local government who did their inventory in-house, if they use ClearPath, and I'm fairly positive they would say yes. So that's the calculator we use to get all the information that we currently have. Next slide. So kicking things off with the municipal greenhouse gas inventory. So this is just public, this is just municipal operations. So our biggest pieces of the greenhouse gas pie are buildings and facilities and vehicle fleet. That is totally normal. That is very on par with what a lot of other local governments are. Next slide. And then when we go into community-wide greenhouse gas inventory, definitely our largest piece of the pie is the commercial energy and then transportation. That's also pretty normal to have commercial be the biggest. It kind of floats between communities, between commercial and transportation. I will say that Sheridan's commercial energy is so big for the piece of the pie, only because Sheridan is such a small community with a very robust and healthy business community. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how the makeup of Sheridan is. I would also like to say that when I see a greenhouse gas inventory, when I see a section that has high emissions, what that tells my brain is that there's a lot of money saving on the table, because what makes up that commercial energy greenhouse gas is natural gas and electricity. And when you bring that down, the business saves money. So it's kind of a win-win there. Next slide. And so this is what I was saying earlier before we dive into greenhouse gas targets. Just want to set the stage of greenhouse gas and why it's so important to set targets and also to make climate action for each community. So this table on the left, the first cost of inaction is to our way of life. And so climate change, as it gets worse and worse, we're going to feel that. One, for heat, I think is the most common one that people know. There is a study by Colorado State, and they show that with different levels of warming, if we have 6 degrees Fahrenheit of warming, Denver could essentially be equivalent to Albuquerque, which I don't know if you've ever been to Albuquerque, but I personally do not want to live in that in that temperature. Precipitation obviously would be different, but it would change kind of our summers, how we live, and that has a ripple effect in and of itself of resource scarcity like water and food. Heat also is just very, very high for public health risk, especially those for the elderly. So you're just going to see more and more of that the more it warms. And then the other side of the cost of inaction is a literal financial cost to climate change. The chart on the right is from the state of Colorado, and they broke it down by the state and also by county. So I pulled Arapahoe's. But essentially, these are the costs for just an increase in drought, flood, and wildfire, of what it would cost the state and the county. And if you see these numbers with severe warming, we could over double our cost for just these alone. And I don't know about you, but as a taxpayer, I would really like to see my tax funds go elsewhere than just trying to survive in a much more hostile environment. Next slide, please. And then the last thing on the cost of inaction is that it is very well documented that as climate change worsens, and even climate change as it is now, it disproportionately impacts socioeconomically disadvantaged communities the hardest. Sheridan is home to a few Justice 40 census blocks areas. We definitely have our hardships found within the city, just like Englewood and the other Front Range communities. But as climate change gets worse, they're really going to see this even harder. So an example is like heat waves. When it gets hotter, people use their AC if they have it. That increases their energy bill, and then you get a financial burden. If someone doesn't have access to AC, then you get that health risk aspect of it too, and more instances of a health risk. And then one thing that I always worry about too is the physical stress on frontline workers as it gets hotter, how they're staying safer. And then the last example is wildfire smoke. I think with the wildfires going on in California, this is very timely. Colorado is no stranger to wildfire smoke either. But a lot of the times disproportionately impacted communities lack access to resources to evacuate or even filters to HEPA filters, which are the ones that are recommended for homes and buildings. So it just exacerbates a lot of things that are already very terrible. Next slide. Okay, that was a lot and that was very heavy. Now off of the cost of inaction. So before we get into the proposed targets, I wanted to show everyone what everyone else has their targets just to get a good level setting. So starting very high up with the International Panel for Climate Change, this is a global body for the United Nations, and they assess the science related to climate change. Their goal is to reduce global carbon pollution by 43% by 2030 and have net zero by 2050. Next slide. And then for the goals for federal, state, and our utility, Xcel Energy, the current federal administration has a goal of 50 to 52% reduction by 2030. Net zero by 2050. The state of Colorado, they have many targets. They're very specific. We love that. But essentially, they have 50% by 2030 reduction and 100% by 2050. And then finally, our utility, Xcel, has their own reduction goals, which is really great. A lot of utilities, or you don't necessarily have to find greenhouse gas reduction targets for a utility. So it's really wonderful that Xcel has them. They have a net zero. Their goal is to be a net zero energy provider by 2050, but they do have a plan to have 100% carbon-free electricity, not energy, electricity by 2050. But from what I saw, there really wasn't anything substantial for any kind of natural gas reduction. So that's why I'm only showing the electricity part. Next slide. And then again, not going through each of these communities, this is just supposed to serve as an example that setting greenhouse gas targets is very much nothing new. A lot of our Front Range neighbors and other communities in Colorado and across the country set these standards, and they really range depending on the community. So if you see Denver has 65% reduction by 2030, 100% by 2040. The Boulders of the world, we love them for this, net zero by 2035, carbon positive by 2040. We're rooting for them. And then you also have communities as small as City of Nederland doing a greenhouse gas target of 50% reduction by 2030. Next slide. So now onto the proposed targets for Sheridan. The proposed ones tonight are 50% by 2030 and 90% by 2050 for the city of Sheridan. And I will say 50% by 2030 is considered pretty much the lowest you want to go for climate science. You see some people go more aggressive, obviously the Boulders, but 50% is pretty much a good standard. Next slide. So now the question, can we reach that goal? Yes, we can. But before I get into the reasons why we could reach that goal, I want to say that creating and setting a greenhouse gas target, the success and the failure of reaching or not reaching that goal is not contingent only on the city. There are so many other stakeholders that have to be part of it. The utility and the state are too, but really residents and everyone has to come on board. And it's never an expectation that only the city alone will make these targets. But by making these targets, it's really showing an alignment and solidarity with the state and with keeping our planetary warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. Next slide. All right, so getting into the fun projections, at least I think they're very cool. Earlier, I brought up the ClearPath tool, the industry standard for greenhouse gas inventories. Something that they have in this tool is future projections. If you put in different pieces that you could implement to see where your emissions would go later on in the future. So to start things, I'm backing up a little bit, actually. I'm only going to show 3 high impact ones. There are others, but it just shows an example of what kind of emissions could look like over time. So the first one is through Xcel Energy's goal to be 100% carbon-free electricity by 2050. As you see, the greenhouse gas emissions start to slope downward, which is what we want to see. Next slide. And then the next is a plan for 100% electric vehicles by 2050. This is actually a state goal. They came out with a whole plan for this. And then also, I don't know if you all saw, but a few weeks ago or maybe a few months ago, it came out that Colorado just surpassed California for the most electric vehicle adoption. So this is a really robust state for electric vehicles and a lot of support from the governor around that.
Did my part, I got one.
Yeah. You're adding to this, the data set. Next slide. And then the last one I want to show is to have having all those combined and then adding 75% building electrification for commercial and residential by 2030. And that might seem audacious. I'm going to get into why that is not in a little bit, but building electrification, for those that don't know, is essentially just taking anything that would be on fossil fuels and converting it to electricity. And while the grid currently isn't 100% clean energy, it's going in that direction, and at least it has the potential to go in that direction as well. Next slide. And then to end on a bow, just I wanted to go over the high impact ways that Sheridan either currently or is in the works of doing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Starting with the first category of building decarbonization. So hopefully you all know that the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or DRCOG, won a $200 million EPA grant around decarbonizing the communities within the DRCOG region, which obviously Sheridan is a part of that. But not only that, they also have a special focus on Justice 40 communities and disadvantaged communities. And again, Sheridan has some census blocks that are designated as Justice 40. And for those that don't know, Justice 40 is a federal definition of an underserved area that has high levels of pollution. So not only is there that 200 million, but also an extra chunks would go towards communities like Sheridan. And they're looking to do really, really drastic building decarbonization with residential and commercial. And then we also are in the process of doing energy efficiency and electrification through our current government buildings. Hopefully you all know this as well with our contractor, Euro Energy. They're wrapping up our energy audit, and then we're working towards the next phase. As I stated earlier, we also have the launching of the Sustainable Business Partnership Program, really aimed at helping business communities and anything that they need sustainability-wise, but also to help them reduce their energy use and reduce those emissions. And then the last one is that we are currently underway in partnership with Xcel Energy to do a beneficial electrification plan. And beneficial electrification is just any way of getting your transportation and your buildings away from fossil fuels and electrified. So I'm happy to send over an example of the town of Superior just finished theirs, and it gives a really good look at what the plan kind of entails. And then lastly, on the electrifying transportation part, Sheridan, Small But Mighty, we already have an electric vehicle charger station. Also kudos to ROE for that one, which is incredible. We're such a small community, and to have that is just really, really, really cool and very progressive. And then we also have an electric vehicle fleet vehicle already. And then we were part of the Arapahoe County Electric Vehicle or EV Action Plan. And then the last thing I want to say before I take a big long breath is is that with all the communities in the United States that have a greenhouse gas target, being in Colorado makes it much, much easier. We already have a really good environment for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And also being part of that DRCOG with all that funding coming in, we're just sitting in a really, really good place compared to other places throughout the United States that have their own greenhouse gas target. So with that, I will take a breath, I will take a break, and happy to answer any questions or comments.
So how often would you anticipate we'd be monitoring or like checking what our progress is?
Yeah, greenhouse gas inventories, they recommend you do them every like 3 to 5 years. It
Okay.
doesn't make sense to do it every year because it just won't move the needle that much.
Mhm.
And it is very cumbersome just waiting for the other entities to get you your data. So 3 to 5 years you check.
Okay. And then how would you know that if we're on track with that? Do you
So-
have like, I'm assuming you have actually some kind of numbers that are, I mean, what we have is just the lines, but I'm guessing you have actual numbers you'd be able to
Yeah, so
kind of check against.
yeah, so based off the 2022 inventory that we already have done and complete,
Mhm.
in the next 3 to 5 years, when we do another one, you can see sector by sector which ones are growing or shrinking, and you can kind of make speculations or dive even further deeper into what's happening or not happening. Xcel Energy also has a lot of really great data on this of like who's taking advantage of their home energy efficiency rebates. Also, the county has data on that with their weatherization program. There's a lot of things you can pull from to see how you're doing.
And do you already have thoughts about, ways that we might be able to try to use some of that $200 million DRCOG grant?
Yeah, so they're coming out with I heard it's either this month or next month that they're working on how to divvy up a lot of that funding for each local government to help implement and implement the work that they want to see happen. So
Mhm.
maybe that's staffing to do like building energy efficiency programs.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet because they haven't come out with the RFP. But we also are already part of their working groups. They have a lot of subcommittees. So we are on their green workforce one, their low income LIDAC one, and building policy. So we definitely have our pulse on what's happening for the DRCOG money.
I have a question.
Yes.
What other additional legislation do you think is going to need to happen so that in 5 years we can hit that goal?
Like from the
Okay.
state or
Um, specifically for Sheridan, what do we need to pass? What do we need to consider to get more people interested in electric cars? I mean, I don't have a garage, so I'd have to figure out a way to have a charger, residential charger. 5 years to we will have to pass some laws. So I'm asking
Are you
what,
thinking more like incentives or?
I don't know. The state has cut back on their incentives. So I know as a car salesman that EV sales have slowed down considerably between December and January. And part of it's that the state rebate has gone down. When the national legislation passed the Inflation Reduction Act, we lost rebates that then we had to figure out, all right, how do you then sell these cars? You're telling us that, the people need to be driving them, but the state is backing off in its support of that.
yeah, I for the electric vehicle piece of it, the big thing with electric vehicles is not to say, oh, you don't have a car currently, you should buy an electric vehicle. We definitely don't want that. So something for Sheridan would be working with RTD. What do their buses look like? Can we have kind of a say or a conversation about what does electrification look like? The charging infrastructure, I think we're doing a great job with having the EV charger there. In terms of incentives, something that will be really helpful is going through this beneficial electrification plan, actually, that we're starting in February-ish, and it'll take about 6 to 8 months to do. But that will really walking through with residents, business owners of how can we make this a reality, and one that actually works for the Sheridan community. In terms of laws and regulations, I would love to noodle and do some more homework on that, and have a better answer for you.
Okay.
I think that's helpful to know if that's something we need to consider, you know, are there even small incentives we could put out that might make the difference enough for people to take that step, you know?
I will say for the building electrification, the building is our biggest piece.
Mhm.
That the commercial sector definitely was that huge piece of our greenhouse gas. There's going to be with the Dr. Cog and then with the state funding, they have some for, it's funnily enough, the acronym is HEHA, but it's high energy efficiency heating appliances. Businesses can apply for them. They're trying to put that money because the state has these greenhouse gas goals too that that they want to reach.
Hey, Mel, could I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
First off, this is fantastic stuff. When you were looking at proposing the targets for the city, I think I understand the 50% by 2030 pretty well. How did you get to 90%? You know, you see like, I don't know, on a number of them that, and the examples that you gave us are looking at net zero by 2050. Some not that, but it's a little bit all over. But what brought you to 90% of this? Is it kind of the makeup of our particular area with Sheridan that makes it more sense than trying to say, hey, we want to try and go for 100% or net zero by 2050?
Yeah, exactly. So it was the makeup, right, of one. Sheridan is small and mighty, but we're still small.
Right.
Nederland was a good example. They're really small. They have that 50% by 2030. From when I looked, I couldn't see anything past that. But North Glen also, they have around 90% for 2050. And I thought equity wise, instead of doing 100% for a city that does have quite a few census blocks with the Justice 40, doing that 90% as like an equitable goal for us to reach instead of saying all our residents and all our businesses are going to be 100% by 2050, which I think we can make it there, but a 90% seemed to fit a little bit more.
I was just trying to, I'm fine with
Mhm.
it. I was just trying to understand. Thank you.
Other questions, council? Or comments? I think it's great. I love seeing the possibility there, and I appreciate your positive attitude after the depressing slides.
Yeah, you try to put that in the beginning and not end on the depressing stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, the targets seem like, you know, they're in line with the state and with a lot of our neighbors, and they make sense. And yeah, I think it's probably better, like you said, to kind of go for a slightly lower goal in the long run because, you know, maybe our residents and even some of our businesses may not have the same financial wherewithal as people in other communities to get to that point. At the same time as wealthier communities, you know. Unless we do get a bunch of grants. We'll see. Maybe we'll get there before then.
Watch us beat Boulder, which I would love that.
Yeah.
That's actually what I was going to say, Mara, is
Yeah.
that maybe the 90% goal kind of sets us up for getting a little
Exactly,
bit more of that
maybe.
Dr. Cog money, saying we'd love to get to 100, but
We
we're
just
going to
don't
need a
think we
little help
can.
with
Yeah.
that. So
Other comments or questions? No? Yeah. All right. Are we taking any action on that goal, or are we just saying we think it looks good, or what's the next step on that?
do you need us to do like a resolution? Do you know if cities have been doing formal resolutions on that? I would think something of a paper trail on that because that would help establish the basis for the grants.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of communities have done the resolution route.
Okay.
Only a few have just put them kind of in the sustainability plan, but then adopted the sustainability plan.
Mhm.
So it's official in some way, shape, or form.
Right, and we've already adopted the plan, so since might be good to do the resolution
Adoption
instead, so we don't
2.0.
have to redo your plan, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that greenhouse gas targets or from you?
Not for me.
Okay. Great, thanks. So we'll move on to the Sustainability
The
Commission.
final piece from sustainability. The next is the creation of a sustainability commission, just having a discussion and getting direction from city council if this is something that you would all like to go forward with. So next slide. So again, just to highlight what the discussion, we're going to talk about how the creation of a sustainability commission connects to the sustainability plan, why create a commission, some of the high level meeting details, suggested timeline, and then Q&A. Next slide, please. So the connection to the sustainability plan, if you look under the community resilience and public health priority area, we have a goal to cultivate an active, engaged, and informed community around sustainability and resiliency topics and projects. And one of the projects within that is to explore the creation of a sustainability commission to really help advise the city regarding the sustainability plan and projects to get a really good feedback from them on what they like, what they don't like, what they want to see changed. And I'll say I currently am the staff liaison for Englewood Sustainability Commission. This is something I'm very comfortable with and used to the process of. So next slide. So why create a commission? So a commission really helps ensure the city projects and initiatives are guided by and reflect the community. It helps disperse information to residents and businesses, increasing the reach and effectiveness of any programs we currently have or are projected or want to have. It also really helps increase the resident and government social ties. I can definitely speak to this for Englewood. Our residents really are engaged with the city around sustainability topics when they serve on the commission. There's definitely this more community buy-in and community ownership of projects when they have a say in them. And then finally, at the sustainability plan open house, which seemed like ages ago, we had a sticker board where people could put stickers next to the projects that they really liked. So we could kind of get an idea of which one should rise to the top. And it was the creation of the Sustainability Commission that actually had the most stickers next to it. It's what the community really wanted to see. Next slide. So what would these meetings look like? I would be the staff liaison for it. It would be quarterly meetings just because I'm only one day a week at Sheridan, so there's probably not that many updates per month. So quarterly meetings, and then they would happen here at the municipal building, but very flexible. Next slide. And then the suggested timeline, if council likes this direction and wants to see it go forward in Q1 of this year, hopefully it would be approved by city council to move forward. Also, if approved, we would solicit call for members to be on the commission. And then we're hoping that our first commission meeting would be sometime in Q2 or Q3 of 2025, really just dependent on the interest from the community and how many signups we would get. Next slide. And that wraps up that one. That seems so much shorter compared to the greenhouse gas one, but happy to answer any questions or comments.
Do you have a picture of kind of how that committee would work as far as like how do the members get appointed, and is there some kind of voting structure? Are they making recommendations to council or to planning, or like how that all works?
So I can speak to Englewood Sustainability Commission, which I personally think runs really well. They're advisory in nature, so they can really just give suggestions and feedback. They don't have any like government authority to do anything. But it really is that dialogue back and forth that has shaped so much of Englewood's sustainability projects and programs to make sure that it's what residents actually want to see, so that by the time it's launched, it has a resident's seal of approval. But they are appointed by city council. They do interviews and city council picks them. They have term limits. They have a chair, co-chair. But yeah.
But I guess that's a great question for council right now, as far as would you want to be the appointing body? Would you like staff to appoint people? You know, do you have a preference on that? Maybe a discussion on how you'd like to see that move forward.
You want to answer right now? I mean,
What do you think?
I want to huddle up. I want to go to Starbucks, talk about it.
And we don't need to answer right now, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's something that we can
I
think
wanna
about.
think
and
about
give
it a
us
little
direction.
Yeah, let us think about
It's kind of a new,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a new thing for us. I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
created any
Yeah.
new committees in, yeah, how long? I don't know. Never. No. Probably since Sheridan celebrates. right now.
Yeah.
But-
Should the appointment procedure be like the planning commission? Something similar to that?
Yeah, you know, an appointment process would be something along the lines, we'd put an advertisement out asking for people that were interested to serving on the committee. They would supply us with an application, usually a letter of interest and maybe a resume or something along those lines, and review them and give them to the council, and you could decide if you wanted to interview them or ask them questions and then make a decision whether you wanted to appoint them or not.
I like that.
So we'd probably do something similar to council or planning where we have like staggered terms if they're gonna have term limits, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, something like that. And so we'd want to work up a whole, you know, scope of work for the commission. What does that look like? What are the, you know, not a full blown charter, but some, you know, some rules of operation and things like that. Yeah. Mhm.
Have you already had residents who actually like said to you they wanted to be part of it, not just that one should exist?
We haven't approached residents about it just because we wanted city council to approve it first before we're like, hey, there might be a commission and then not
Yeah.
deliver. So I haven't talked to residents about it. I have talked to Nellie from Sheridan Rising about it. She seemed pretty interested in letting the folks that she knows know.
Mhm.
So just beginning to, but yeah, didn't want to muddy any waters of
Okay,
saying there would be one and then there not being
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I might suggest to council that we can meet as staff and come forward kind of with an outline of how this would work and then bring it back to you guys to make sure that you're okay with that. So, you know, recommendation on how many members, you know, what kind of terms, the scope of their work, all that kind of thing. And I think it's important that we be somewhat formal in establishing this because then we'll be relying on this body not only to advise council on various decisions, but it will be a very big part of supporting any grant applications we go out there, and that we have a commission of members of our community, that it's not just the council saying, yes,
Yeah.
we want to do this, right? You've got a body of stakeholders in your community that formally meets to make these recommendations. And that will only strengthen any grant applications or programs that we're putting forward.
On that Englewood Council, is there a certain number of like business representatives versus residents or?
We don't have a mandatory business owner or anything on the commission. I will say a great point on the grant piece though, because we actually have had sustainability commission members help us with letters of recommendation, which are really strong when it comes from the residents who are also really civically engaged. They've been very, very helpful.
I'm definitely on board in theory. I'd love to see that happen, yeah. Anybody else have kind of general feedback on creating a committee, mission, whatever we want to call
I
it?
think it's a great idea and it gets citizens of Sheridan involved. I mean, I'm with it. I just want details on how we're going to make it happen.
Maybe define what it is on a page on the website, drive some people there from our monthly newsletter even, right? Writing about it with links where people can submit an application. Something like that would be really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sounds like, I don't hear anybody saying, no, that's a horrible idea. So everybody looks pretty much in agreement. Usually nods are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have staff put together something for us to review and move forward with it then.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome suggestion. Anybody else have any other questions for Mel before we let her go?
I have one more thing later, but
Oh, okay. Nothing? Okay.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mo.
Okay. don't think we have anything else on the agenda. Do we want to do a quick manager's report, Devin, or, oh, we have review of agenda items. Sorry, that's jumping ahead.
One moment, let me get. No, it's mostly housekeeping this evening for your regular meeting. We are going to have our, as you took a picture earlier, we have a presentation, our I can't talk, Soul Smart Bronze recognition. And then also Jean is here this evening to do our annual report on the Sheridan Celebrates event. And then we just have our annual posting location notice, and then a contract for the city manager to see if you'll allow him to keep working here with you guys.
Great. Anybody have questions on those agenda items? Nope. Okay. Now we could do a manager's report if you have anything for us. that you
I
wanna
have
cover.
a couple things. To open. Okay, first thing on your dais in front of you, I supplied you with a hard copy of a letter from Dr. Gianni Thompson, who is our Sheridan School District Superintendent. And this follows up on a meeting that I had with Dr. Thompson along with the the South Suburban Parks and Rec District, where we really kind of just sat down, the three of us, and had a discussion about how do we move forward with the three organizations, and how do we cooperate and move on into the future with all three organizations working together to do the best things for our community. And Dr. Thompson wanted to write this letter and wanted me to share it with you, so I'll share it with you this evening. I think that we had an excellent discussion about how do we move together as three organizations on some common goals. So along the lines of what do we do with the rec center? How do we work together with some programming and different things like this? Capital improvements, how do we share maybe costs with things like that? So excellent discussion, a great way to kind of start the year off. And I just wanted to share that with you. We'll have more details forthcoming. We're working on trying to put some type of a written agreement in place that will help us determine the future of the rec center, at least the immediate future, and how is that going to work, allowing South Suburban to put some capital investment into the building, some long-term planning. I've asked our staff to start looking at the parking in the area here, as far as how all of that works, because we're looking at possibly sharing parking not only with the school district, but there could be some space needs that we share with South Suburban. Although that all just kind of got thrown up in the air when we heard that the school district wasn't getting their electric buses, which is a shame for now. That had been driving a lot of the conversation we were looking at for the extra space, because where South Suburban currently uses some property over behind the bus barn to stage some equipment, and the school district was looking at having to take that space in order to have the charging stations for their new electric buses. Well, the buses fell through, and it was not any fault of the school district. It was the manufacturer of the buses basically went out of business, is my understanding. And so that put them behind on that project. So we don't have an immediate need, but anyway, we're still looking at our area, our common areas that we butt up to each other or share, figuring out how do we work together and as far as the most efficient and effective use of those. So, lots of nice little steps moving forward. Can Do had a presentation from a group called Colorado Soccer that's looking at doing some programming here in Sheridan that could lead and using school facilities for this, that could learn to some long-term facilities and programming and could be a project that all three entities can support and move forward on. So lots of really positive discussions and steps, I think, right now between the three organizations moving forward. And again, Dr. Thompson kind of wanted to commemorate that in a letter just to show where he is on it and where the school district is. I had a discussion with the mayor earlier. I think we're going to look at maybe doing some joint meetings with our three boards and have some further discussions later this year and getting into some other types of areas and things that we can work together on and coordinate with. So very excited about a lot of the discussions that are taking place there. One quick reminder, the 20th, next, so a week from today is Martin Luther King Day and City Hall is closed on that day. And then I wanted to do an introduction of our new Public Works Director. Jeremiah Reichert is here this evening. I know that I've talked a little bit about Jeremiah to you and kind of given you a little bit of a brief background on Jeremiah, but I asked him to come up and kind of address you guys and I kind of introduce himself.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate your time. And I'm excited to be a part of this team. A little bit about myself. I'm a native to Colorado. I have a chemistry and engineering background, but I've worked in public sector, specifically public works, for 25 plus years. In the past 3 years or so, I kind of ventured off and went into my own consulting, and that work was done in South America, Central America, and all over the African continent. So I have a child with special needs, so that brought me back to just kind of landing back home and being there for my child. But I'm excited to be here and to learn everything that Sheridan has to offer. So excited for the job. So,
Great. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
That's all I've got for right now, Mayor.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions.
But do you have questions right now? No? Okay, then we'll adjourn the work session at 6:53 and we'll meet back here at 7 for our regular meeting. You like that?
If you're here for public comment, there is a sign up on the dais up front. There's a, and there's extra agendas up there as well.
Thanks, Jenna. All right, can we kick off our regular meeting with an introduction from our interpreter again, please?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andrea with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to be practicing language justice today, and we're going to have simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish for those who are on Zoom, so that we can practice language justice and you can speak and hear in the language of your heart. Please remember to speak at a conversational pace if you're going to provide public comment in Spanish through Zoom. Thank you. Hola a todos, soy Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a estar practicando la justicia del lenguaje. Vamos a tener interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español para que puedan hablar y escuchar en el idioma de su corazón. En algunos momentos vamos a aprender la interpretación y ustedes van a ver un globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla donde van a poder seleccionar su idioma. Si no encuentran el globo, por favor denle clic a los 3 punticos donde dice más. And host, we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you, Andrea. All right, I'll call to order our regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council for January 13th, 2025. Time is 7:01 p.m. Can we have roll call, please? Do we have all members present? Can we please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Righteous God, we call on you right now, and we know that you will answer. Please show us great and mighty things that we do not know, so that this meeting can fulfill its role for the kingdom. Let our efforts be kingdom motivated and spirit led, so that we may be blessed by this meeting. We seek you for guidance and instruction. We seek you for wisdom, so that we can make the right decisions today. Amen.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you have any updates to our agenda or change?
No changes to the agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. First item we have is the Soul Smart Bronze Recognition.
Okay, last thing for me, I swear. So the city of Sheridan, we're really thrilled that we were recognized for reaching bronze in the Soul Smart program. This is a project listed in our sustainability plan, but our goal is to reach gold. We have time, we have till 2030. And the Soul Smart program is a completely free program through the Department of Energy for local governments. And it's really to help local governments remove any red tape that maybe is there for residents or businesses who want to take advantage of solar. So how we got bronze was by doing a few things. We did some trainings to make sure that our community development and building department was up on the latest and greatest around solar permitting and inspecting. We made sure to add resources to the website to make it really clear to residents what is and isn't allowed for solar in the community. And we also did the memo to the Planning Commission as well, highlighting some of the code changes, code recommendations from the Soul Smart advisor. So yeah, just wanted to say congrats to the city team. Andrew, Ari, we're just so pivotal, and Jess Bradshaw. And yeah, we can't wait to make it to gold.
Great. What do we have to do? What do we have to do for gold?
More trainings. There are some code recommendations. So I'm pretty sure, Andrew, tell me if this is wrong, but we're going to be working with the Planning Commission to see what area or direction they would like to go in. But a lot of it is just making it more clear, like codes more clear to residents to make sure that there's no confusion of what they can and cannot do. And then, yeah, other trainings to make sure that we know all the things regarding solar permitting.
Great. Sounds like that'll be really beneficial to residents and businesses. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Jean Ray with the Sheridan Celebrates presentation. Come on up, Jean.
Hello, and thank you so much, City Council, for taking this opportunity for me to talk about the successes that we had this year with Sheridan Celebrates. Appreciate the support that I get from staff. Heidi in particular, who isn't here, I need to call out that she's always really helpful. And Jenna and Reagan are always on top of things for me too, and I appreciate that very much. So the Sheridan Celebrates this year, and this isn't just Sheridan Celebrates, it's also the other events that we did this year. So in 2024, we did some greening of the earth and did partner with Mel a little bit and some other organizations in Bobcat Park. We also celebrated the Latinx portion of our community, and we had some philanthropy fun in November. On May 5th, we had a Parkpalooza Earth Day, and that was in Bobcat Park, and it included community education as well as keeping with the city's focus on sustainability. The 2024 theme was Sheridan Celebrates Fiesta in the City. You can see a great picture up there on where one of the booths had hats and things that people could put on and have their picture taken. So that was a lot of fun. And then Top Hats and Tiaras had a snowball theme this year, and we brought joy to 55 disadvantaged Sheridan children through our philanthropy and collecting new unwrapped toys at the snowball this year. So the Parkpalooza was in Ward 2. And as I said, it was Earth Day education and activities. And everyone who had a booth there, there were 9 different partners that had booths there, including South Suburban Parks and Recreation, Groundwork Denver, Sheridan Inspire, the Sheridan Recreation Creativity Lab, South Platte Park, Sheridan Rising Together for Equity, Colorado Master Gardeners, and the Sheridan Sustainability, as well as Compost Colorado. And all of those organizations not only provided education, but they actually had activities that people could do. And so it was a very engaging event where people got an opportunity to learn as well as participate hands-on with some activities. We also had healthy treats that were compostable. So we had apples as treats and oranges as treats, and so the cores of the apples were compostable, and the oranges peels were compostable. And then the Sheridan Rising Together for Equity actually used recycled egg cartons and made those into bird feeders. So there were lots of really cool recycling parts of the event as well. And there was some extra trees that were floating around from the tree program. And one of those, we had people put their name in, and one of those was planted in the neighborhood. Remind me, Jay, what corner is that on? Do you remember?
I don't.
I didn't look that up.
I don't. Beautiful
it's-
yard.
Yes,
Very nice.
it's right in Ward 2, and they were so pleased. And so that's a picture of the tree planted there with Jay. The family was so pleased to be the ones that were honored to have that tree planted in their yard. And South Suburban was a great partner on that. They actually delivered the tree straight to the people, so that was really cool. The Top Hats, Tiaras, and Toys program. Look at those wonderful dancers there. We see a couple of city council people having fun with their significant other. And so that was really cool. It was a gala holiday event for teens and adults, and we did have some teens participate. There was a teen. Oh, wow.
Sorry.
It was cool. It sounded, yeah, I felt like a rock star there. We had one of our previous charity partners actually brought her daughter, and I think when she was our charity partner, her daughter was a little girl, but now her daughter's a teen, so that was fun to see her at the event. The community philanthropy consisted of people donating new unwrapped toys, as well as a portion of each of the ticket costs went for cash to purchase additional toys for the ages that might not have received appropriate toys, or if we had more girl toys and boy toys, or whatever that might look like. So that was a great program, and 55 kids were given toys, and that represented 24 families, and the kids were ages 1 month to 16 years. So it was a real broad spectrum of the family. And then we did, the way that we did the program is we had online ticket sales with the QR code. That would also included postcards going out with the QR code. And the distribution was through Sheridan Rising Together for Equity. And Michael, Ernie, Anthony, and Terrence were all there for the distribution. And that was really fun. I thought it was really neat to engage directly with the families. Sheridan Rising Together for Equity now has their own office right here in the community down by Bobcat Park. And so that was really nice. Not all the families were there, but I can report that Nellie reported to me that they were able to deliver the toys to the families that didn't come that day to pick up the toys. The dinner was also provided by a nonprofit. That nonprofit organization is called Full Battle Rattle. And what they do is educate discharged vets in the culinary arts. So that's kind of cool too. The other thing that we did as part of that event is we had some snowflakes that we had painted by children from the community. And we gave those snowflakes away for a donation to the VFW's airlift program. And I think they collected like $235 that night from people. That was probably way more greater value than those snowflakes were worth. But that was another kind of combination thing to do and extend the philanthropy just that much farther. So that was really cool. The VFW 9644 did comp all of their costs for the rental of the hall, as well as the bartenders that were there that night. So that's a really nice thing that they did for us. So it was nice to be able to give back to their airlift program. Our charity partner this year was Commune, and our charity program has morphed over the years. It was started way back in 2016 with the idea that Sheridan Celebrates could be more than one day, and it could give more back to the community than just fun, even though fun is really important, and we really learned that during the COVID time. But it extends the reach of Sheridan Celebrates, and it also raises money for a local nonprofit. And the way that we started doing that was with actually going to local taverns and singing karaoke and asking people to pay $3 a song to sing karaoke. And we collected that money. And then we had a sing-off and a silent auction. And the most we ever made when we did that was about $2,100. And then when COVID happened, we couldn't do that anymore. So we went online, and the first year online, we made $21,000 for our charity partner. And that was sharing with Sheridan. We've not been able to make quite that much ever since that time, but we did give away this year nearly $4,700 to Commune. So it is still very successful to do that online. Our Sheridan's Got Talent contest. If anyone in the room wants to make a video, we would welcome you to participate as a fundraiser in that effort. The VFW band has been the winner of, so the way that you win the Sheridan's Got Talent contest is by raising money. The VFW band has raised the most money for the last 3 years. And this year they stepped aside for our longtime announcer, great picture of him there on the far right, Dave. And he's been the announcer of the Sheridan Celebrates Parade for several years. And so he was able to get up on the stage during the break of our highlighted band and be able to play some of his own music. So that was fun to be able to honor him as well for his participation in Sheridan Celebrates for so many years. We had 8 online peer-to-peer fundraisers this year. And like I said, we garnered about $4,700 for the nonprofit Commune. The Children's Parade couldn't be done without the help from the staff and probably some volunteers from Alice Terry Elementary School in the Early Childhood Center. They really promote participation in the Children's Parade, but they also handle the day of registration for us. Sheridan Celebrates can't be done without oodles and oodles of volunteers, and so their help is really critical. At the end of the 23rd Sheridan Celebrates 2023 year in our wrap-up meeting, we didn't have any music for the Sheridan Celebrates Children's Parade in 2023, and it was felt that that was really missing. So the committee committed to having music this year, and we actually hired a mariachi group, and the mariachi group called Las Dalias was all female. So that was kind of cool. They actually walked in front. You can see them there walking in front of the parade and playing music for the kids who were participating. GoCo also had Wilder there. If you haven't met Wilder, you are missing out. He's kind of the cross between a goat and some kind of abominable snowman. He's huge, and he's really cool, and the kids do really love him. But if you can see in that picture, that's a little teeny boy in his arms down there. He's really huge. So they love that. The kids really love that, and we really appreciated GoCo's participation. And fun to see also the skull mask, the sugar skull mask on the little boy in the go-kart in that. Smokin' Outlaw Kitchen was our new sponsor this year for the Sheridan Celebrates Parade. We always have a sponsor for that, an in-kind sponsor that then provides food for the VIP Sheridan Celebrates event. And then they also give a participation prize to all of the kids. So every kid who participates in the parade is a winner, and that's a wonderful thing too. For the Grand Parade, the theme really inspired some very interesting floats this year. We work every year in the Sheridan Celebrates Committee to come up with a theme that we think will encourage people to have interesting floats for the parade, and I think that that really did come through this year. We also had 2 new car clubs and a new motorcycle club participate in the parade this year. So that was really fun. The Corvette Club had several convertibles, and so they were able to be the transport for our royalty. And a great picture there of Queen Sally, Sally Daigle, who had served the city of Sheridan for many, many years and still continues to serve the community in various ways, including the school board. She has that great picture with Wilder. So there's another picture of Wilder. You can tell Jean likes Wilder. I also like the picture up in the right-hand corner of the commander mascot. So that we don't always see in the parade either. The mascots coming out, and both of the mascots were in the parade this year from the high school and the middle school. And then the upgraded viewing decorations, the Sheridan Celebrates committee members from the VFW and the Boy Scout troop associated with the VFW made their effort to upgrade that so that we have a much more permanent Sheridan Celebrates reviewing stand. Our reviewing stand is actually a flat bed trailer from Dick's Towing. So it's really nice when we can decorate it up a little bit, and they're all sitting in fold up chairs up there. But I think the people who participate as parade judges always really, really enjoy that experience. And the mayor's significant other does do announcing with David Coyle, and they make great banter, which is very entertaining for the audience. We also had a new sponsor that the Grand Marshal was in the new sponsor's car, and that was Fourth Dimension Graphics and Wraps. And so he rode in a wrapped car. Oh, the other thing I should have said about the Grand Parade is we couldn't do the Grand Parade without the Knights of Columbus. They have volunteers that do all of the staging. Expert volunteers have done it for many, many years, and they do all that work on that end, and we couldn't really do it without them. So again, like I said before, so many people in the community make a difference volunteering for Sheridan Celebrates. New entertainment this year was the Pee Wee Play Park. We started last year, the year before, not that this was this last year, but the year before in 2023, we kind of had a makeshift sort of obstacle course that we tried to put together. And kids didn't really participate in it all that much. So we really wanted to have something for our youngest attendees at Sheridan Celebrates. We do have the bouncy castle and the obstacle course, but theoretically, kids are really not supposed to be in a bouncy castle until they're about 5 years old. So we really didn't have anything for the really, really little kids, the toddlers. And so Chi Life said that they would step up and provide some supervision for that. And so we bought some extra things to have at the Pee Wee Play Park, and they helped with the supervision. And so we had much greater interaction with the smallest kids. Though, as you can see, it also attracted older kids because there's a lot of older kids in that picture. And then our band was a Latin band. So it was called Latin Soul. thank you, Chief Martinez, for making that recommendation. They were great. They were great to work with, and they did everything from rock and roll to R&B to some cumbias and some real Latin music. And so they were really wonderful to work with and really did a good job of fulfilling our theme for the year. And then the water table, I don't have a picture of that, but the water table is always really, really popular. South Putt Park has the water table on the porch, and I'm hoping they will continue to do that in the future. It's a good spot for it. And the kids and adults are all very intrigued with the water table. It replicates the flood of 1965, I want to say is when the flood was. And it replicates that. The kids get to kind of build a city or something, and then they turn on the water and it all floods, and they get a real feel for what that's like. So I think that that's really cool. The bouncy castle was back, and the obstacle course, that's always really popular with the kids. We've had great attendance that were the schools helped us recruit, and we've had great attendance for the last couple of years to make sure that that is a safe way for children to participate in Sheridan Celebrate. So we really appreciate that. There was a lot of toe tapping and boot scooting going on at the event this year, and so we hope to continue that next year as well. We had 93 exhibitors registered for the festival this year, and that number increased over 2023. We had to kind of come back after COVID happened, and we have really built that back, and that's about the maximum that we can do because of the new futsal court that's on the basketball court. Kind of reduces the amount of exhibitor booths that we can have around that space. According to our survey results, 90% of the exhibitors feel that the price is fair. So we are keeping the prices the same for this coming year. One of the things that we do and has started a couple years back, I think it was after COVID, so probably in 2022, is we do what we call a festival pass, and it's a document that is handed out. All of the booths have a certain number of them. They hand them out to the visitors. The visitors go from booth to booth, and they collect a certain number of stamps at the booths, and then they turn those in for a prize. And that helps us to collect email addresses so that we can go on and promote other events in the city, as well as Sheridan Celebrates for future years. And that continues to work pretty well. There was some concern on the part of exhibitors that the kids just run around and just try to get stamps. So we have agreed as a committee that we will no longer be allowing children to get the stamps. It has to be an adult that is collecting those stamps. 80% of the survey respondents did feel that the festival passes are beneficial. We partnered with the Bridge House in Inglewood to provide an additional food option beyond that of Knights of Columbus. You can see down there in the bottom left picture, Bill Kessler from the Knights of Columbus grilling up those burgers. I also thought we had more participation on the right-hand side. That's just a visitor, a young girl that's a visitor. We had way more participation with actual people visiting, carrying on that theme of Latinx this year. So we'll see if we have some farmers and cowboy hats and those sort of things show up for 2025. We had some new sponsors this year. The top picture is a picture of the sponsor banner. The way that the stage people do it now is they can put that banner way up on top of the stage, so it's really visible everywhere. So that is a benefit that's new from them. I think that's been for the last 2 years. But ABC, which is a long-term local organization down in the Natchez Court area, they do all of our flyers, print all of our flyers that we distribute to the schools for free. Those flyers are in English and in Spanish. As I mentioned earlier, Smoke and Outlaw Kitchen was a new sponsor for the Children's Parade. Chair Rental provides us with 75 free chairs. Again, they've done that for years and years, folding chairs that go under the tent so people can sit in the shade and enjoy the band and the music that's up there. Fourth Dimension Graphics and Wraps was new this year. and South Platte Veterinary Hospital was new. Magnify Signs has been a wonderful partner that has updated our banners every year for many, many years. Our in-kind donations are valued at nearly $1,800. And our total cash sponsorships for this year was $6,700. So things are going well in the sponsorship arena. The VIP event I thought was really, really fun this year, but maybe that's just me because I'm a crafter. I think there were some people didn't think it was fun as I did, but we're going to do it outside, and the weather was becoming kind of questionable, so it was moved into the recreation center. And have to give a shout out for Eddie Canoza, who is always so flexible and willing to help us with so many, many things. But he helped us to move that inside. But it was fun because we made the piñatas, and you can see them on that top right-hand picture actually hanging from the big tent that sat in front of the stage was surrounded with piñatas that were made at the VIP event. So that was fun. Nancy Moreno, who is going to be our newest member of the Sheridan Celebrates Committee in 2025. And is a Spanish speaker. She led that committee with interpretation from Nellie. She led the event, so our craft event there, making our piñatas. And so that was great to have her. And we had a great lunch by Smokin' Outlaw. I know, I think probably everybody in this room has eaten at Smokin' Outlaw Kitchen. They have great food, and so that was really wonderful to have that. The purpose of the VIP event is to thank our sponsors and all of our volunteers. We introduce our royalty and our grand marshal and our parade judges if they're able to attend. And we also give out our fundraising check for our online Sheridan's Got Talent fundraiser to our charity partner at that event. It's fun to do an activity as part of the VIP event because people just sit down and they're with each other. They're having fun, they're communicating, and they're maybe getting to know somebody they didn't know as well before. So it's a great event, and we invite all of you to participate in that event. Promotion. We did do postcards for all 3 of the events. You can see 2 of those postcards there for the Sheridan Celebrates event. The postcard for the past 2 years has really focused quite a bit on the parade route to let people know where that is. Kind of 2 reasons for that. So people know that they might not be able to get out of their driveway at some point in time on that morning, but also so that they can come and watch the parade and know where it is, and that they don't have to necessarily drive up to the festival grounds, but just come right out of their house and be able to see that parade. The QR codes augment the things that we can do, let people know where there's more information for them to find on events and activities, as well as online ticket sales. We do some boosts on Facebook to increase the beyond the Sheridan community. We do it locally. It's not, that far beyond the Sheridan community because we really are trying to stay pretty local. We also have Holy Name Catholic Church, which is where the Knights of Columbus reside. They help us out by putting something in their large bulletin. The Ridgeline Community Newsletter also puts information in theirs. And then we have a wonderful volunteer, Tina, who, and I can never remember her last name. Tina. Anyway, she's on our committee, and she hands out flyers at the Sharing with Sheridan Food Bank for 2 weeks in a row right before the Sheridan Celebrates Festival. So, and she takes on that responsibility herself. So again, the volunteers are everything for Sheridan Celebrates. Want to thank Jenna. She helped me out doing the postcard for the top hats and tiaras and the Earth Day, and I appreciate that. Public Works helps us with the reader boards, which Jeremiah has a different name for that than reader boards. Variable message boards. We put those out to promote both the the Park Palooza events, as well as the Sheridan Celebrates events, as well, again, is to let people know that there's going to be a parade in their neighborhood. And then we did, Tina Mason, I have it written here. Tina Mason did that. And the other efforts is we do have our banners that we put up out in the community. Terrence and Anthony helped put up those banners this year. Can't do it without them. Gina's no good at pounding in those things. So it's really great that those guys help with that. And we appreciate also the people that allow us to put the banners up. Metro Express Car Wash and Kimco does let us put some banners down in their space. The banners are one of our best promotional efforts. I always get calls after the banners go up at people asking about the festival, if they can be an exhibitor and things like that. So people really do notice those banners. And as I mentioned earlier, Magnify Signs updates those banners for us every year at no charge. The schools also help us with their electronic signs and their home dialer. So they have a reverse dialer thing where they can send a message out. We give them a message, they translate it, and they pretty much call everybody in the schools and let them know that Sheridan Celebrates is up and coming. So what's next? The 2025 theme is Sheridan Celebrates Farm in the City. I track all of the theme suggestions over the years, and we had several theme suggestions that were around either fall harvest or farming sort of things, food to table. One of the statistics that I looked up, which Mel would be happy to know. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. I looked up a statistic, 18.3 million more people started gardening during COVID in the United States. That's amazing, isn't it? In their own backyards. So I think that this is a really appropriate theme, and we'll look how we can expand on that theme to make sure that we're bringing some of those fun organizations forward to help us with the idea around gardening. The Master Gardeners have been participating with us in what we've done in Bobcat and Wildcat Park, but maybe we can get them out to Sheridan Celebrates as well. And it's always a creative force, and I think farming is something that people have a picture in their head. So we hope that maybe we'll see some fun things in the parade as far as the floats go. The new communications and community engagement manager had some great ideas today when we had our meeting about fun things we might be able to do as far as activities. And so looking forward to partnering with her and things that we can do to elevate Sheridan Celebrates this year. And then continue our partnerships within the community, our successful philanthropic and ward-specific events. Park Palooza, I think, has been very good for that area of the community, and we have very good turnout for that. So we're just starting the planning for that. We have a meeting scheduled on the 29th for Park Palooza, and then we'll move forward with what we might want to do with the dance event, and maybe it won't even be a dance this year. It might be something different. So we'll see what happens with that, but that's what's happening next. The only other thing I have for you is whether or not, if you read through the responses to the surveys, if you had any questions on any of those responses to the exhibitor or parade surveys that came out.
See anybody? Were there questions for
And
Jean?
yeah, any other questions for me? Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity always to report to you. And like I said, anybody that wants to make a video, be really cool to have one from the city, just saying.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jean. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to other staff reports. City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Welcome back. Happy 2025. I have one item. We have now switched over to a new payroll system. So before, you guys were used to receiving your NOD once a month. It came in your email. It was a little attachment. Now you will have software that you will log into instead of having it come through your email. So I will be sending out a new login for you. And then the morning of your deposit, you'll get an email saying view pay stub here. So be on the lookout for an email from Central HR to set up your account. If you have questions or have trouble, let me know and I can help get you set up in that. Any questions, concerns? Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Happy New Year. And then I just have one comment tonight, which is in follow-up to a discussion you had during your work session regarding a new Sustainability Commission that the city will be considering. And that's simply to say that in your charter, you do have authority to establish any advisory board, but it must be by ordinance.
Okay.
And there, so when staff works on putting a proposal together, we'll make sure that eventually that ends up in an ordinance for adoption, which would then formally establish that commission.
Great.
But I just wanted to give you that little tidbit of information and happy to answer any questions if there are any. I have nothing else to report, however.
Thank you. Thanks for that quick update. All right, city manager, anything else?
I just wanted to add one more thing. I want to introduce one more employee who is here tonight, Zach Schooley. Don't look over your shoulder, Zach. You don't, if you hadn't have a chance to meet Zach. Zach is our senior maintenance tech for the city. He's basically our crew leader for the public works crew out there. I'm sure you've seen him at a lot of different things, and you know he's out and about when anything that's happening out there in the field. So Zach's just kind of hanging out with us tonight because he has no life. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think Jean probably thanked everyone in the world, but I know she also mentioned numerous times how helpful you were with Sheridan Celebrates last year. So thanks for that.
That's all, Mayor, and I'd just be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Any questions for this?
Oh, that's funny that he said that he don't have no life. I mean, I came over here one day and he was working on the door. I was like, bro.
Well, you know, those things come up at bad times, right? All right. Chief, what's new?
No, for the sake of time, nothing tonight, but
Nothing.
I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to the minutes then. We have the minutes of the regular city council meeting of December 9th, 2024. I have a motion from Councilmember Moreno, second from Councilmember Whitaker. Any discussion on the minutes? Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. And next we have the consent agenda, the approval of disbursements, authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from December 1st, 2024 to December 15th, 2024 in the amount of $503,075.71. And authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from December 16th, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 in the amount of $680,905.09 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds. I have a motion from Councilmember Stang and a second from Councilmember Moreno. Any discussion or questions on the disbursements? Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have items for individual consideration. We don't have any ordinances tonight, but we have Resolution 1 of 2025. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, designating the posting location for notice of meetings of the City Council and all other local public bodies of the city. I have a motion from Councilmember Stang and a second from Councilmember Moreno. Any questions or discussions on Resolution 1? Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Resolution 2 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan approving the 13th Amendment to the City Manager Employment Agreement between the City of Sheridan and Devin Granbury. I have a motion from Councilmember Moreno and a second from Councilmember Kelly. Any discussion on Resolution 2? Sorry? A maybe?
Yeah.
I think we don't have a choice for that. You got to go one way or the other. I don't. I'll say I appreciate your service and especially your long tenured service, you know, that you've stuck around Sheridan so long. I think it's a huge benefit to our city, you know.
I appreciate that, Mayor, and I've told you before that it's an honor to work for you as your city manager, and I truly mean that.
Mhm.
It's an honor to work for you and an honor to work for the city, and I appreciate you renewing my contract and allowing me another year. Thank you.
Okay. I think we can cast votes.
Yeah, Devin, you the man. Come on.
Motion is approved unanimously. All right, next tonight we have Mayor's Choice. I just have a few things. First of all, Happy New Year. Glad to see everybody back. Hopefully you got some time to relax and refresh and come back with some energy. I also wanted to mention I got a letter from regarding the Arapahoe County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Awards. Usually we do an annual sponsorship of that award. We put in $500. That money from all the cities and the county is pooled, and youth from all of our communities can apply for those awards. So I just wanted to get nods if everyone still wants to contribute that $500 again this year for the youth awards. And also just put the bug in your ear that if you know anyone who would like to apply, please let them know. I will also send it to Polly Plancart to distribute to the schools so that they can nominate students. Okay, I think I saw yeses on that, so I'll send that. I think I got an email too. I'll send it along to you. If
Would
didn't
you, Mayor?
already get
Because I haven't
something.
seen that yet, so that'd
Okay.
be great. Thank you.
I wanted to bring up just a couple things from the Tri-Cities Homeless Policy Group. Kind of some not so great news is that the Colorado Safe Parking Initiative is basically, I guess we'd say, out of funds. The board of directors says they're not really going to be operating under that name anymore. You probably remember we were trying to do a pilot within the Tri-Cities of a safe parking area. So I guess that funding is going to go back to the county, but our coordinator is also going to try to look into what it would take for us to still do some sort of safe parking, if we kind of came up with that on our own. I think she said people from Colorado Safe Parking might still be available to kind of consult on that. So we'll see where that goes, but it's definitely a hurdle to that particular initiative we were hoping to do. And the good news, we're moving forward with our RFP for a study on permanent supportive housing. So that would be studying all 3 cities to see what the needs are. And what we might need to do to help people who need that kind of housing. And then the other good piece of news that we heard this week was, you might remember Lindsay from our housing authority said that Next Steps grant was not, so they hadn't heard anything about whether it was going to continue to possibly be funded, but she's heard that there is going to be money allocated toward that grant. Now, whether our community gets it again, I guess that's still in question, but the good news is there's still going to be money available for that grant, which of course was helping families in Sheridan and Englewood to stay in their housing as opposed to becoming homeless. So I think that's a great thing to hear. That's all I have. Council members, do you have anything? No?
I do.
Go ahead.
Our Oxford medians. Gosh, I was so happy that we had put the sign up that says, you go around the median, and it was gone within a week. I mean, people have been running over those medians for so many years. I can't believe they keep doing it. But I was so psyched when we put up those markers, new markers that maybe have had some sort of a flexibility to them, but they're not standing up as good to our, delinquent drivers as the medians that were put in down at Bellevue and Federal on Bellevue by Littleton, which are still all up. They still look really great, but a majority of the things that we put on these medians to let people at night know that they're there have been run over, they're gone. And I'm just hoping that we can figure out what's going on there. I know Christoph Clark, who runs Chi Life, he did $1,000 worth of damage running over one of them on his car, and he's lived there for 11 years. So I'm just hoping that we can figure it out. Do you know the medians I'm talking about, Jeremiah? You do, don't you?
Please come up to the mic if you're going to speak so that we can interpret. Thanks.
Specifically, Oxford and Clay, the bounce back median sign that has been there has been ran over 3 times.
Yeah.
We have had the lines painted in the road, along with, we went ahead and painted the bull noses yellow as well, and then put the the glass beads, as another deterrent, reflection, if you may, on those bull noses. I am and have been currently talking with Colorado Barricade to try and find something more long-term. Still trying to figure that out. Like I said, we have been through 3 bounce backs right there, so it's either we're going to possibly be moving it back slightly a little bit more and then putting some bounce back center dividers on there prior to that abrupt bullnose, if you will, right there at Oxford and Clay. So we are trying to figure out, like I said, more of a long term, but at the moment we've spent a decent amount on these bounce back signs, and they're just not holding up like we expected them to. Just I think mainly because of the heavy traffic coming out of Clay. Sometimes the left-hand turn, I think some of those semi trucks kind of cut that little tight, run them over, but I know we've had a few other instances where they just get ran over head on. So
Seems like long-term, it needs to be aligned a little better because it does kind of jog over a little from,
yeah,
if you're going west,
yep.
it doesn't really line up with the.
No, and I think that may have been a slight issue with how the lines were painted,
Mhm.
and so we will, like I said, we're actively trying to search for something that's a little bit more long term and try and get that resolved.
Yeah, we will look at some design elements too and see how that relates to MUTT CD standard and
Yeah,
which I'm sure it probably meets that. Otherwise it wouldn't have been implemented, but I'll be sure to take a look at that and see what are some alternatives, and we'll come up with a solution.
great, thank
Yep.
you. Anybody else? No, okay, then we have time for public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker and is not to exceed 20 minutes. I know we had a couple people sign up, so see who we've got here. Thank you. All right, so I've got Layla Sanders. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record first, if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Layla Sanders. I live at 4100 South Dale Court. And in case you don't know, my back door basically faces Clay and Oxford. This
Ooh,
landed in my driveway at 1:05 in the morning on 12/21.
wow.
The sound was absolutely horrendous. This is a very dangerous piece of shrapnel that flew probably 500 feet
Mhm.
very quickly. I'm concerned
Mhm.
because those 3 accidents that have happened, the signs that are missing, as a Sheridan taxpayer, I'm paying for those signs every time we do this. We're paying for somebody to install them. We're paying for the technology. We're paying for the equipment. We're paying for all of this stuff. And it's a danger to me and my neighbors. My suggestion, just as you said, Madam Mayor, was to restripe Oxford east of Clay, because that is, John and I have lived there for 12 years. We still get surprised by it from time to time. It's a terrible place to have a median.
Yeah.
I get why it's there, but it's a terrible place to have a median.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
that's all I
appreciate you
got.
coming and telling us about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, by the way, also, so this was 12/21 early in the morning. On Christmas Day, someone else hit that median. I
Okay.
heard it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I do want to, I appreciate you very much bringing that so that we can work on it. And just to kind of give a little background, I don't necessarily want to go into it a lot, but I mean, the original reason that we had that stretch median the way it is was because that was how we were required to do it for a grant when we got that stretch of road done. So at the time it was worth it because the road was so horrible. we're like, let's just, get it done. We'll put up with these kind of meetings that we don't really like, but we have to do to get the grant, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, in order for us to get the funding for that from the state, we had to
Yeah, but we're past
conform
that
with some
now.
design elements that they were, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's not, in no means defending it. I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's
yeah.
perfect. Oh, heck no, but that's kind of how we ended up with it. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we're at a point now. where we need
We'll
to
be taking a look
fix
at
it.
it, promise.
Okay, next we have Laura Callahan. Please come up to state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Laura Callahan. I live at 3474 South Bryant Street. I wanted to bring up the fact, I'm sure you've all noticed, Sheridan has a large amount of dilapidated, super rundown buildings, both commercial and residential. I'm not sure why Sheridan hasn't done anything about them up to this point, but a lot of cities have code in place that allows you to inspect these buildings, make sure they're still safe and habitable for people, and also, make sure that people are improving their homes. To make sure that they're conforming. There's something called the Uniform Code for Abatement of Dangerous Buildings that Sheridan does not have on the books, but places like Breckenridge, Denver, other municipalities have. It makes it so that Public Works can actually go and inspect these buildings and make sure that, again, they're habitable, they're safe, and that they're not impacting the community anymore. It's really frustrating being someone who cares about my home and the value of my home and seeing, somebody 4 doors down who's a hoarder who has plywood on the outside of their house and it's completely falling down and the city won't do anything about it. It makes it so our property values are lower. It makes it so, I feel like I shouldn't put any money into my house because my return on investment is not going to be as high, if I have a hoarder living down the street from me who's living in a house that's falling apart. So I would really love to see Sheridan take a stronger stance on these buildings. Again, residential and commercial. There's commercial buildings, we talked about with the PUD rezoning to get the new car business on Federal. There's a lot of commercial buildings that kind of fall into the same category, and I think it makes it so that there's fewer businesses that want to move into the city as well, despite it being an economic improvement zone. So I think it's really important for Sheridan to take a strong stand and do something about these buildings so that we improve as a community, so that we have, an improved housing stock in the area.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate those comments, and I'm sure you probably know this being, working with us, but we are mostly complaint driven in Sheridan, so keep complaining if you if you haven't been, keep at it, and that keeps our people working on it.
The only thing is because we don't have anything on the books code-wise for it, other than, very few things, the city can't really do anything about it now without having something like the abatement of dangerous buildings on the book. So without having that code in place,
I
there's
see what you're
very few
saying.
things that the city can actually do, as far as I know. And correct me if I'm wrong, if there's some other things that we have on the books.
There are a few, if you don't mind, Mayor,
No,
there
go
are a
ahead.
few things that we have on the books as far as nuisance abatement that we can look at doing that. If you have these kind of issues that you're talking about, that we have used nuisance abatement for that in the past. So if you have a specific property, let us know and we can go take a look at it and see if it would qualify for some of those nuisance abatements. And we've got a pretty good track record of doing those kind of things when taking action. When it's something that is on the exterior of the house, we can see it, we know it, we have very strong indications that you might not have utilities working there, you're going to have infestations, you're going to have those kind of things. When it's really fairly apparent, I understand what you talk about when you're talking about inspection programs and things like that. That's kind of a whole different thing, and I get where you're coming from on that. We're not set up to do that, but if there are if there's appearances on the outside of the building that we can deduce from that there are problems going on, then there are things we can do. Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right, thank you. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak to council? We still have some time left. No? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll adjourn. Time is 7:55 p.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.